Hello, my name is John Kanalopoulos and I'm an eye surgeon. I'll be presenting you in this short video a rare complication of a Z syndrome crystalens intraocular lens that was fibrosed several months after the implantation, creating a lot of lenticular astigmatism, and we made the decision to remove the lens, exchange it with a sulcus fixated MA60 Acrosoft intraocular lens. You're seeing here the 2.75 keratome used to track the original incisions of the original procedure. The Crystalens is fibrosed within the capsular bag. It's quite difficult to dislodge the lens without damaging the capsular bag and compromise the posterior capsule, so we will elevate slightly the optic of the Crystalens enough to insert viscoelastic. You see here the Kuglen and the Sinskey hooks used to create a entrance for the viscoelastic that will be placed under the silicon optic of the Crystalens intraocular lens, and following that the Kuglen hook will undermine the optic of the lens. The silicone intraocular lens special scissors will be used here to enter and amputate the optic from the superior haptic seen here, and the same procedure will be repeated to amputate the inferior haptic seen here superiorly in your screen. Now we're watching the surgeon's view in this procedure. This procedure is done under peribulbar anesthesia to minimize patient discomfort and movement during these delicate manipulations. The silicone intraocular lens special forceps that it has a single tooth that is engaging the intraocular lens and helps in avoiding slipping of the lens, which is very common with silicone intraocular lenses, something that make quite difficult the manipulations within the anterior chamber. The scissors now are rotated around the inferior haptic seen here superiorly. Part of the lens will be cut so it can fit through the 3mm original incisions. You can see here stabilizing the silicone optic of the crystalline lens and snapping a piece of the lens out enough to enable removal of part of the optic, the biggest part seen here, with a special forceps for the silicone intraocular lens. So you see here the engagement of the larger piece of the intraocular lens optic, and then the trailing smaller piece removed here. All this is done under filling the anterior chamber and the capsular bag with Helon. The haptics of the lens are left in place, and the MA60 intraocular lens, of course calculated for sulcus fixation, always reducing the power of the lens in comparison to in the bag implantation by half to 0.75 diopters. The first haptic is placed over the anterior capsule, and the lens is unfolded under the iris. You can see how the iris has constricted through the manipulations in the anterior chamber, making the implantation of the second intraocular lens quite difficult. A toothless forceps is used here to implant the trailing haptic under direct visualization, also over the anterior capsule. The lens is centered well in place. Its support is being established by pushing gently with the Kuglen hook, and the procedure is finished. A month later, the fibrosis from the silicone intraocular lens in the prior procedure, this is a young patient, was released, seen here with the YAG capsulotomy. I'd like to spend a few seconds and underline the fact that the haptics of the second intraocular lens were placed perpendicularly to the original haptics of the crystallens to avoid tilting of the lens, the second lens, from the original haptics. You can see here YAG capsulotomy blowing these openings in the central posterior capsule, and the remarkable change in optical clarity that is achieved. Again, through hundreds of implantations with Crystalens, this is a rare complication of a Z syndrome and significant lenticular astigmatism with the Crystalens 5.0 and the HDs that we have been implanting over the last 2 years. And I thought it is important to share this challenging technique with you. Fortunately, the patient achieved emetropia by thorough calculation of the sulcus fixated intraocular lens and the YAG capsulotomy that you're seeing fulfilled here. And I thank you very much for your attention in observing the exchange of a fibrosed Z syndrome Crystalens intraocular lens to a sulcus fixated Acrosoft MA60 lens. Again, this is Dr. Kanellopoulos, and I thank you very much for your attention.